Welcome back to the finale tutorial series. We're going to pick up right where we left off with designing this show. Previously, we talked through adding these three flame pots at three different positions at the start of our show, looked at firing view a little bit, but we're going to continue right along. The last thing I remember is that we thought we should add a cake probably in this area somewhere before these flames die out. Let's take a listen to the music. Not a super big hit, so I don't know that we need to add anything specifically as a hit. I think what we will do, I'll just take a look through what simulations I have. I don't have any particular design or thing in mind for this show. We're just kind of showing off finale and how it works. But maybe I will shoot this show at some point. So I'll just kind of take a look through some of the simulations I have, see if anything stands out. Probably a quieter cake would be good. The song's really not um, firing on all cylinders yet, so to speak. So something quieter, um, not too crazy would be nice. Maybe I'll bring in, I don't know that breaking news, I don't know that I did this simulation to really match the cake. A lot of times what I will do for simulations and just getting things into finale is just kind of use placeholders. So I'm going to use breaking news. That's a cake from the Dominator, but it may not look exactly like breaking news really looks. So again, I want to check that the pre-fire time is right. I can do that by hitting Control F and taking a look in here at the pre-fire time. It is correct. There is one other way to check it that I haven't shown previously. If you're on the effect out here in the simulation, you can right click and it brings up some information about this specific item that you just clicked on. It won't change any of the others. You can see our pre-fire again is 0.05. That's the lowest you can go in finale. If I put 0 in, it looks like it saves it, and I hit apply, open it back up, and actually left it at 0. Wrong again. I'm pretty sure that when I go actually export my script, that'll export as 0.3. I've rarely seen it allow me to actually have a 0. Yeah, a 0 equals auto, so I think it's going to pull in at 0.3. So I'm going to put it at 0.05 because I know that that'll work. Hit apply, and now I can play my simulation. So that is the actual simulation for breaking news, so that's cool. And we can hear and kind of see from the waveform that it's still going to be pretty quiet for a while. It'd be boring to do breaking news again, so I don't think I'm going to do that again. What I think I will do, maybe I'll use some fish, another fairly quiet effect, use exotic mash, and bring it out here to these side positions. So we're kind of varying where the action is occurring. Now if I reduce my timeline, I can see that there's a tiny bit of overlap between these two effects. But to make sure there's no dark sky, I would be relying very heavily on breaking news lasting whatever its full duration that I've put in there that it thinks it's supposed to have. I don't necessarily trust it. Sometimes cakes run long, sometimes they run short. I don't really want dead sky at this particular spot. So the other cool thing about these little bursts, where I'll call them bursts, I don't know what they are. So when the effect actually occurs on the timeline, if you left click and drag, you can highlight all effects with their actual fire. I guess it's when the effect starts firing in that span. Notice I don't pick up this effect down here because I'm not selecting over that little bubble. So I'll select these two guys, then I can just drag them back a little bit. I'll drag them back a few seconds. Now I feel a little safer that I'm going to have some overlap and no dead sky. This is showing exotic mash runs pretty long. I'm going to take it at face value since I'm probably not actually going to shoot this show. I'm not going to be super anal about going and looking at the duration of this cake and making sure that my simulation is still right. These are all simulations I made, so I trust myself that I made them correctly the first time, or at least got the duration right the first time. That's the most important part. But if it's going to last this long into the crazy part, I think I'm actually going to back it up more. So I'll drag it back further, and that way we've got really good overlap between these two effects. So exotic mash is just a fish cake. It'll run through here. I think what we want to do now is focus on when things start to get a little wild. So we've got really good hits in this area right in here. It's about 20 seconds worth. You can see it shows me the duration of my selection right above my mouse right now. There's about 20 seconds where we got a lot of hits. Probably want some cakes going off in this area as well. But I'm definitely thinking some comets or mines in here, spice things up, maybe some fan slices. There's another really good hit for a fan slice in here somewhere, and then otherwise it's probably way too cost prohibitive to do hits on everything in here, so probably just a good number of breaks going on, so maybe some high shot count cakes to keep things lively. Based on the waveform, I'm going to guess there's a bunch of more hits in here as well. So this will be interesting to see how my approach for doing hits translates into watching on video. It may look a little crazy. I'm a little specific about it, and I stop and start my audio a lot doing it. So before I do that, I'm going to try and think about what I want to do. And I think I will use some brocade mines, kind of like the golden look of a brocade mine in a song like this, very epic fitting. So let's go ahead and start it here. I got 2 hits in here. I think the first one's right about there. And with 3 positions, I can't get too wild. So I think I'm going to hit these first 2 at the center position. Kind of draw them out to the side a bit. And just get them out here, and then we'll kind of take a look at, do I have the times right? Not even close. Let's drag this back a bit. First one's too early now, so I'll drag it forward. Collapse my timeline down some more. This one's too late. Still too far apart. So I think that's good enough for those first 2. There's another double hit here, and then a whole bunch of hits in here. So I think What may look good is if we take these, so these first two are at the center, we take these next two at left and right. This one's easy, I can see the hits right when the music picks up. Now this is where you start getting into some pretty cool features and how I think Finale is really a great tool to use, despite all of the flaws it may have. So these are all individual hits in here, but if you heard towards in this area, we do the exact same thing we just did. Let's listen to it. These are the double hits here and double hits here. Same thing I have scripted, so what I'm going to do, highlight those four things, hit Control C, and they start somewhere around in here. Let's just paste it in, so Control V, and it may not be right. We'll see what happens. A little too early, so I can select these guys, drag them back. These are way too far out, so it's not quite the same musically. Drag these guys in, and we're golden. Pun probably intended there. Now I gotta go back and do these guys, so there's, let's count them. That's too many to count. I think there's either 7 or 9 hits in there. That's quite a few actually. So we may not have to worry about hitting them all. The human brain is pretty great at kind of making patterns up where there may or may not be patterns. So I think there were actually 9 hits, but I'm going to try and get away with 5. And maybe we'll try to like spread the all 3 positions with mines. So I'm going to worry less about the hits, and we're going to take a look at some cool features that are available. So first, we're going to start on the left. This is going to look the same as the other guy. Let's do like a, bring it way out. Bring another one. Oops. So right now I'm not too worried about where I'm putting them, and I'll show you why in a second. I'm just going to stagger them out a little bit. Let's do 45, 15, bring my timeline over a bit, do this guy straight up, bring my timeline over a bit more. We'll do the opposite over here. So do this at 15, bring my timeline over a bit more, and do this guy at 45. Now it is important when you're designing a show to save yourself a lot of pain during the actual setup to kind of think about how many angles you want to use at each station, and if you've got the equipment necessary. There was one particular show we worked on in KCAP where we had lots and lots of angles that probably could have been condensed into some similar angles, and we ended up having to create a ton of trough racks for 1 or 2 angles. So lots of waste and labor and setup time, when if we would have designed the show maybe a little simpler, we would have saved ourselves a lot of effort. So this is getting a little complex with 15, 30, 45. If I was shooting this myself, I would be using my Pyro Llamas firing system. If you've got some other racking systems that are flexible and modular, this many angles isn't too concerning. But just something to always think about when you're designing is what's it going to be like when it's time to go set it up. So let me show you what I had in mind here. So those 5 things fire way too fast. They need to stretch this whole duration. So what I'm going to do is select them all, go to Edit, Times, Stagger, and then, so it's saying that our duration right now is 0.7 seconds. I think it needs to be more like 4 seconds. We'll see if that looks right. It's way too long. Maybe 2 seconds. see what that looks like. I'm not sure I'm going to get away with only 5 effects in there. I may need to add some. So let's use some copy and paste. Control C, Control V. I see I pasted it at the wrong spot. I'll bring this guy over here. I'm going to put him at 30. He actually needs to be in between those two guys. And then I'm going to take this guy over here. Oops, not that one. This one, copy him, and he needs to go before that one. Where did it copy it to? And make him 30. And then I'm going to select them all again. So I've got 7 effects, and let's stagger those. Still over 2 seconds, so it automatically adjusts my interval. So I don't think I'm hitting exactly on the beats with those 7, but in the field, if you can imagine 7 brocade mines going off within the span of 2 seconds, it's going to be pretty friggin' impressive regardless, and I think the audience is going to put it together that there were a bunch of hits there. So now you can see what I'm talking about, where this expanding my timeline space really helps. I got a lot of effects stacked up here and it gets a little confusing. So we've added a pretty complex comment element, a few cakes. This video is running pretty long. I think I'm going to leave it here. Thanks for watching. We'll continue it in the next video.